The storm had been raging for hours, the kind of storm that strips branches off trees and makes the ridge feel like the edge of the world. My cabin stood firm against the howling wind, its lights dark, its heart silent. Until I flipped the breaker. With a roar, the old diesel generator came alive, floodlights cut through the storm, and suddenly the darkness wasn't theirs anymore, it was mine. The yard exploded into daylight, every drop of rain caught like silver needles in the glare. The intruders froze, exposed like actors on a stage. 2 massive trucks pressed against the iron gate, engines straining, tires shrieking in the mud. But they weren't moving it anymore. From the second truck, a figure emerged. A black umbrella against the storm, a floral blouse under a raincoat whipping in the wind. Calm, deliberate, arrogant. Karen Sunshire. The president of the Sable Ridge Homeowners Association. The woman who'd sent letters dripping with condescension, now standing in my mud, looking into my camera as if she owned it. Her security men flanked her, investors trailing behind with the nervous energy of men who knew money but not risk. She raised her voice, sharp and commanding, cutting through the roar of the storm. "This isn't your land anymore, Mr. Mercer. The survey is filed. The easement is executed. This property belongs to us now." I answered through the outdoor speakers, my voice calm but thunderous. "Filed, yes. Flagged, not accepted. You're trespassing, Karen." Her guards shifted. One hand hovered near a holster. The tension in the air was electric, fragile, one wrong move away from chaos. I said one word, "Don't." The man froze. Karen smiled, but the mask was slipping. She had expected fear. She had not expected resistance. I invited her to the hood of her own truck. Her team hesitated, confused, but her pride wouldn't let her refuse. She thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. From a battered ammo can, I pulled a clear tube containing a yellowed, time-worn map. The original master survey of Elk Ridge, drawn in 1960. My grandfather's work. His lines, his notes, his hand. He wasn't just a logger, he was the county's chief surveyor for 3 decades. He had mapped this land with precision and pride. I unrolled the map across the wet steel. The beam of my flashlight lit up its details, every curve of the ridge, every boundary etched in India ink. I pointed to the granite boulder and the old oak tree, markers that had stood longer than Karen had been alive. The line between them was clear. The truth was undeniable. Then I pulled one of her pink survey flags from the mud and dropped it onto the vellum. 50 feet inside the line. A blatant fraud. The investors leaned in, faces paling as they realized they weren't partners in a bold development, they were accomplices in a crime. Karen's composure faltered for the first time. And then I told her the final blow. Paige, my sister, working at the recorder's office, had already scanned their forgery. The sheriff had it all. Her empire was crumbling, and she didn't even know how fast. The night shifted. From down the mountain came the grinding growl of engines, several heavy vehicles, methodical, unstoppable, climbing the switchback road. Headlights flickered through the rain, getting closer. Karen's investors whispered in panic. She stiffened her jaw, but I saw the twitch in her eye. She thought it was the cavalry, maybe her final chance to turn this around. And then it happened. Crack. The sound split the storm wide open, a deep, shuddering groan followed by the earth-shaking crash of a giant falling. A massive white pine, dead for years, had finally come down. The road below vanished under its bulk, blocking the path completely. Engines cut. Headlights stopped. Silence returned. I looked at Karen. "No way forward," I said, thumbing toward my gate still chained to their truck. Then I pointed into the darkness below. "And now, no way back. You're boxed in." She stared at me, realization dawning. This wasn't fate. This wasn't chance. This was a plan. The storm, the pine, the timing. She thought she had cornered me. But it was she who had walked into the trap. Flashlights danced through the trees. Voices called up the hill. "Sheriff's Department. Announce yourself." The intruders shifted like animals caught in a snare. Investors raised their hands high, babbling excuses, desperate to separate themselves from Karen. One guard surrendered immediately, palms open to the deputies climbing the hill. Even the second, the loyal one, froze when I told him not to move. And then Miller appeared. Deputy Miller, broad-shouldered, calm, steady. I'd known him since I was a boy, when he drank coffee with my grandfather at the diner. His light swept over the scene, floodlit cabin, chain truck, winch cable, and Karen standing defeated in the mud. "Evening, Cole," he said simply. 2 rounds fired at my siren. "All on camera," I replied. He nodded. Evidence, solid and undeniable. Paige's package had already reached his desk, fraudulent filings, shell companies, everything tied to Sable Ridge Minerals. Karen had nothing left. No men. No escape. No law on her side. When Miller clicked the cuffs onto her wrists, the sound echoed louder than the storm. Karen Sunshire, self-styled Queen of the Ridge, reduced to a prisoner in the mud. The storm broke with the sunrise. Golden light spilled over the ridge, washing everything clean. The mud was still thick, the gate twisted, the yard scarred, but it was ours. Tess stood with me on the porch, a blanket around her shoulders, her arm looped through mine. Coffee steamed in my hands as I watched the sun push through the mist. The private property sign still stood, defiant and proud. Then my phone rang. Paige. Her voice carried the victory. Karen had folded in her cell, the investors had spilled everything, the DA had moved fast. The fraudulent survey, the shell corporation, the offshore accounts, all exposed. The company wasn't just dead, it was buried. Neighbors began to call, to text, to rally. Men who had once complained about my lights now offered to help rebuild the gate. Others were already gathering chainsaws to clear the fallen pine. They finally understood, my fight was their fight too. Karen hadn't been building a community park. She had been planning to strip mine their future. I looked out at the ridge, the hills, the silver gleam of the lake. My grandfather's legacy. A sanctuary, not for sale. Tess whispered, "You did it, Cole." I shook my head. No. We did it. How far will a man go to defend his own? The answer is simple. As far as it takes. The ridge is safe. The fight is won. And the quiet has returned.